Hello everyone, my name is Lawrence A. Herriver. I want to walk you briefly through my project. The topic of my project is input image feature reconstruction from deep network, or you could say input image reconstruction from deep network features. Reconstructing input images from intermediate neural network features provide insights into what information deep models preserves at different depths or levels in a network. In this project, I used a pre-trained ResNet 50 and a convolutional decoder to reconstruct 224 by 224 images from multi-layer feature maps. And I evaluated this reconstructed image to measure the equality with the MSC mean square error matrix, PSNR peak signal to noise ratio matrix, and the SSIM structural index similarity index matrix. The codes were designed to run in Colab. We have some GPU constraints, but we try to emphasize reproducibility and interpretability of the project. Deep convolutional network has achieved state-of-the-art performance on computer vision. Yet, their internal features representations remain a difficult and a challenging task to interpret. So in this project, I try to explore how much spatial details and semantic structure is preserved at different depths of a ResNet model. I explore whether a lightweight decoder can reconstruct meaningful images from multi-layer features under memory constraints. The project demonstrates how input images can be reconstructed from features map extracted at multiple depths of a deep convolutional neural network, specifically the ResNet 50. And the goal is to study how well a decoder can invert intermediate representation and to understand what spatial and semantic information is retained or lost across the layers. So our motivation was basically to interpret network by visualizing what internal features encodes, explore invariance and abstraction by comparing reconstruction from different depths, build a compact, reproducible pipeline suitable for teaching, experimentation, and feature research on feature inversion. So like all AI project, we have to begin with a data set. So in this project, I used the ImageNet RLXVRC 2012 validation split. This dataset has 50,000 labeled images spread across 1,000 classes, 1,000 different types of images. So the images were obtained directly from the official ImageNet website, which you could easily obtain. You just meet some of their requirements. They ask you to fill some questions to fill, but basically you can easily obtain them. And I also had used Ground Truth, which is also obtained from the same ImageNet website. Now, due to the compute and storage constraint I had, I was only able to use the validation split. The this is basically practical, useful for training and evaluation, while it's also preserving the relevance of the complete ImageNet training model. Initially, at the beginning of my project, I attempt to use the full ImageNet training data set, but I was limited by the available resources and the constraint of the GPU that I had. So I had to hop back to use the validation split, which is about 50,000 images, while the full image, the full data set is about 150,000. That's almost 100,000 different. And so my storage and my processing capability was not enough to contain that, so I had to opt for a more manageable data set. So after we decide on our data set, then we know we're going to use Colab with the resources they offer. So we got a Colab running. The first thing was to impute all the relevant and necessary libraries, with the first cell here does. And there's a code to run the script directly on Python directly from your terminal. So there's a Python, you can just convert this to a Python script, and you're very good to work without Colab. The next thing was to store our data set. Now I have a 6 gigabyte data set that I had to use with the ILX VR 2012 validation split. My storage at the moment is pretty full in my system, so I had to have an external storage. So I had a challenge of connecting external storage to Colab, which is pretty not something they allow based on their policy. So I had to use the available option, which is to use a Google Drive, my Google Drive. But the challenge with that is that the Google Drive cannot take the full 6 gigabyte download straight into and store it. So I had to split the 6 gigabyte data set into 3 sets or 3 parts, 2 gig each, and then I was able to store it in my drive, the Google Drive. Then successfully stored in Google Drive. These are all detailed here. It's pretty explained here. Then I have to mount my Google Drive to my Colab so I can access the data set. So here, this code helped in doing that. Then because I split the data set into 3 parts, I have to go through each of the parts and reassemble them together so that I could use them in Colab, right? So this is what we did here. Now after reassembling them, I have to extract them now to their actual images, right? Because this is a compressed file. Then recombine the files. So this is what we did here, and these are the extraction, the result of the extractions here. 50,000 of these. Now after successfully extracting the files, I had to upload the ground truth label. Now the ground truth is part of the data set. It helps specifically to classify the 50,000 images into their actual classes, and basically this was because of how I split the data set, brought them back. So the ground truth ensure that the classes or their classifications are actually maintained going through all this split and recombining process. So then I have to rerun the entire script to organize the images properly to the folder that I'm going to use for training, which we did here, and organization was complete here. Now we are ready to load our data set. Now we're ready to load our data set. And there's a cell for that. All right. So we'll load the ILXVROC 2012 validation image from the organized folder using the image folder and the data loader. Now we applied the standard ImageNet pre-processing, which you can see here. We did resizing to 256. We centered the crop to 224. We convert to tensor here, and we normalized here. Now we are ready to load our pre-trained ResNet. So I use the ResNet 50 model pre-trained on the ImageNet from the touchvision.model, and we registered the 4 layers. This was basically the requirement from the project. It has to be at least 4 layer deep. So we had the 4 layers here: layer 1, 2, layer 3, and layer 4. Then the feature extractor model returned a list of the feature map in a fixed order for each of the inputs. So this was completed. And the next thing we did was to prepare the concatenated features. Basically, is to resize each feature map to a common spatial size, and we use the bilinear interpolation in doing that. The concatenated resized feature along the channel dimension was formed to shape a single tensor for the decoder. So this helps us to capture the information from the different stages, from the early stage, the mid stage, the deep stage, and the very deep stage of the layers in the network. Then after then, the next cell, which is the 5th cell, we have to improvise before we have to improvise for our final training on how to implement the convolutional decoder using a very efficient memory because of the limitation of the memory and the depth of the network. So I implemented the convo only decoder, a fully convolutional decoder using the stock convo transposed 2D layers. Progressively upsampled the feature stencil from the low resolution back to the 224, which we did here. Then we arrive here. There's a cell for that. Then when we complete this, we are ready to instantiate the decoder. So we run a sample batch through the feature extraction and concatenation pipeline and read the resulting channel dimension and construct a con-only decoder. Move the decoder to the GPU. Now with this, we're ready for training. Now, for the training, we train the decoder basically using the mean square error between the reconstructed image and the original image. Now this was run for multiple times, basically 32 epoch, and this is the 32 with several train losses. I will log the average training loss per epoch to track the convergence. This lasted for pretty hours because of the constraint. I think basically up to like maybe 8 to 9 hours. It was pretty much. Alright. Then I went to visualization of the work and metrics. So we reconstructed a batch of images and showed the original versus the reconstructed pairs side by side here, and display and compute the PSN, MSE, and the SSI metrics. And this helps us to evaluate our work. The mean square error rated 1.0028. The peak square signal to noise ratio was 1.25, and the structural index similarity. The structural similarity index matrix rated 0.151. This is the visual of it here. Then we went further to save the model here. I just because of the constraint of the system, the available resources, I think if we had done like maybe 30, maybe like 60 or 70 epoch, I think would have had a much better quality result. But this is still impressive, very, very impressive. If compared the original and the reconstructed, very impressive. And remember, this is just from features. All right. So we save our image. This save the trained decoder weights to this for reproducibility. This was very important, and we export the samples of the original and the constructed pairs and training losses into the result folder, which we can find there. So basically, this is the work, and this is a little guide for the actual execution, especially when you want to run this as a Python, direct Python, not on notebooks or Jupyter notebooks and the rest. You can work with this. So thank you very much, and this is my brief introduction to the work. Thank you so much for listening.